While 34 aldermen voted for the $51 million, it did not come out without a lot of controversy, especially from some black residents who say the money should go towards Chicago residents who have been neglected for years.
Very much committed to a revenue stream or revenue streams that ensure that we are dealing with the crises of those who are unhoused in the city of Chicago, while also making sure that there's room for those that we are welcoming.
Migrants brought some loud and vocal opposition from the public, to the point where police had to escort people out of the city council meeting several times. Mayor Brandon Johnson asked for a 2-minute breather.
We want to make sure that we can continue to conduct the business of the people.
Since August, over 10,000 migrants have arrived in Chicago. Hundreds are sleeping on police station floors. The $51 million is expected to help house the migrants. But those against spending the money say the city must take care of its black residents, too.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about Chicago, and hopefully woke Mayor Brandon Johnson is okay with me talking about Chicago, because I'm not talking about the young scholars, the agents of chaos that have been causing so many problems in his city. Not talking about them today. What we're actually really talking about is Brandon Johnson's plan to give more money to illegal immigrants in his city. Because like I predicted, right, people say, well, what happens when the $50 million that Chicago already set aside for illegal immigrants, what happens when that runs out? Well, what do you think happens? They're just going to keep giving the illegals more money. And this is coming at the expense of black people. Black people waking up to the tricks of the Democrat Party, right? In regards to how the Democrats sold black people a Trojan horse, right? When it came to illegals, okay? They made you think that that is what's good for black people, right? Diversity and inclusion, right? That's good for you as a black person, okay? So diverse, so inclusive that we want to put illegal immigrants in your neighborhoods, okay? Just so they can take your jobs, because they are cheap labor, okay? So they're gonna take your jobs, and it's gonna be funded with your tax dollars, right? That's what's happening, okay? That is what a lot of these people voted for when they voted for woke Mayor Brandon Johnson, who believes that Chicago is a sanctuary city. He's a sanctuary city extremist, okay? He's embracing it, okay? Eric Adams is backing away from it, okay? He's like, oh, I don't want to be a sanctuary city anymore. Brandon Johnson's like, yeah, we'll take all the illegals. We're going to house them. We're going to feed them, okay? We're going to help them get jobs very quickly, okay? We're going to help them get jobs quickly because, again, cheap labor here, okay? Cheap labor. And, again, this is going to come at the expense of black folks. So, justifiably, okay, black people are upset with Brandon Johnson continuing to give illegal immigrants more money while seemingly neglecting the black community. Except this black man who is upset with this, I'm going to play, blames the white man. Saying it's actually the white man's fault that black people voted for Brandon Johnson and he implemented these policies. But take a look.
$25 million expenditure with state assistance to provide 6 months of rental assistance for more than 6,500 migrants, plus 15 million to fight homelessness. So they took $51 million of taxpayer money and applied it to them. Now they want to take an additional $25 million and apply it to them as well, which the grand total comes out to $76 million. And then they say, well, let's do 15 million to homelessness. Well, how about all the money be put on homelessness? How about that? But no, that's not what they want to do. You have to understand, this is planned, folks. This isn't happenstance. These people were told, hey, come up here to America and we'll get you a free house. Don't worry about the courts. Don't worry about the police. Nobody's going to do you anything. We'll get you to get a job and you can stay here. You may not have citizenship, but don't worry. You don't need it because we're going to make sure that you can get a driver's license. In a lot of states, you can even become police officers and not even legal citizens of the United States of America. You don't have to worry about the laws that was passed in this country. The laws is only for the citizens. We enforce the laws on the citizens. We don't not going to enforce the laws on you. Don't worry about it. Just don't worry. You're good. Yes, some people may complain about the money we're spending, but don't worry about it. You're going to be taken care of. Now, before I continue, hey, white America, can we talk again? Now, when we talk about reparations for Black Americans for the harms of slavery, you're adamant to say no. Your bootlicking, shoe-shining raccoon Clyburn say, hell no, you're not getting it, because he's speaking for you. Because we know Clyburn is your mouthpiece, right? So to Black America is hell no, you're not getting it. But to these people, they get all the money. And where is the vitriol for all this taxpayer dollars that's coming out of your pocket, white America? I'm going to keep laying that at y'all, because y'all get so upset, even the conversation of reparations. You get upset. But real time money is going out to people who are even citizens.
Yeah, so you seen that you're in debt, okay? That guy, he's upset, right? But he's blaming the white man for what Black people voted for, right? When they voted for Joe Biden, okay, and they voted for Brandon Johnson. They literally voted for this, okay? They voted for this because the conservative white man, okay, and the conservative Black man, we were against this, right? And the conservatives just generally are against this. Okay, we didn't want this to happen. This is not what we wanted. So I guess if you're going to point out who's at fault here or who to blame, you need to blame Black people who voted for the white liberals that want this. I'm just saying. Hey, at the end of the day, Black people voted for this because, diversity and inclusion. Okay, diversity and inclusion. So I do want to talk about Brandon Johnson and this plan, because I think that this plan is interesting. And I think that this is a prime example of how Democrats quite literally can destroy the Black community right in front of their face, right in front of our faces, make it super obvious that's what they're doing. But Black people will turn around and continue to vote for them because of these vague promises that they're never going to get from Democrats, right? And at some point, Black people are going to become so politically irrelevant that Democrats will stop making promises to Black people altogether, right? As long as Black people continue to vote Democrat and they vote for stuff like this, which again is gonna be at the expense of Black people. So let's read about this. Chicago, Illinois Mayor Brandon Johnson is hoping to spend $25 million in taxpayer money to pay rent for thousands of illegal aliens in the city. Since August of last year, more than 10,000 border crossers and illegal aliens have arrived in the sanctuary city of Chicago, many on buses sent from Texas. Now Johnson is hoping to secure $25 million in taxpayer money to provide 6 months of rent to more than 6,500 illegal aliens. That move would come as rent for local Chicagoans has skyrocketed in recent years. Yeah, so this is what's happening. You have Brandon Johnson saying, look, we're not going to run away from housing migrants. We're actually going to spend as much money as we can to house migrants, while also at the same time, we're going to help facilitate them getting work as soon as possible. Okay, so they're going to provide rental assistance for these migrants. They're going to get these migrants jobs. They're going to get whatever paperwork that they need to get done in order to get jobs and to be self-sustainable, right? That is what the plan is. And you know who benefits the most from that, right? You know who benefits the most from that policy approach? Corporations, right? Big business benefits the most from that. And why do I say that? Well, the reason why is because what this is about, it's not about social justice. It's actually about cheap labor. What Brandon Johnson is saying is that, well, these immigrants, right, they come in here, they're going to be willing to work for nothing. We can put them in the Black community, right? Because, you know, a lot of black people probably aren't working those jobs anyways or want to work those jobs. And we're just going to have them take those jobs. You know, all the jobs that these teenagers refuse to get, right? These teenagers refuse to get. See, again, you see how Brandon Johnson engages in doublespeak? When it comes to making excuses for the young scholars that are ravishing his city, oh, they need more jobs. They need more things to do. But they have no issue with finding jobs for these illegal immigrants because there are plenty of jobs available, right? There's plenty of jobs available. So what's happening is that Brandon Johnson is saying, look, well, we just going to plug some of these holes up with illegal immigrants, right? Cheap labor, okay? And we're just going to use cheap labor. That's what they're doing. And again, who does that come at the expense of? The black people that are in that city that, hey, they're moving illegals into your neighborhood to take your job on your taxpayer dime. And they pull this money out of nowhere, okay? They pull this money out of nowhere. They took schools in your neighborhood that they refused to do anything with. They just sit there and let it rot, okay? When they could have turned it into something for the community, they chose not to until illegals arrived, right? When illegals arrived, all of a sudden, they found a way to house homeless people. Except they're not American citizens. You know, they're not homeless Americans. They're homeless illegals. They figured out how to do it, right? Apparently, there's a huge difference. There has to be a huge difference between housing illegals versus housing American homeless. That's the only way I can reconcile why Democrats be so willing to do that for illegals before Americans. Unless, again, you know, the Democrats are selling out Americans like they always do with their policies. All of their policies are designed to sell you out. And that's what kills me about all these black people that want to call black people that are conservative or Republican sellouts because we don't vote for Democrats. It's like, we're not out here pushing for a party or telling you to vote for a party that quite literally wants to replace you with your own taxpayer dollars, right? Because that's what's happening, okay? Black people with their own taxpayer dollars are literally funding illegal immigrants coming into their neighborhood, taking up their resources, and eventually starting families there and pushing them out, right? Pushing them out, taking all the jobs, using up all the resources, putting their kids in all the schools. I mean, like, that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. And I come out here and I tell people, hey, look, that's not something I'll vote for, right? I wouldn't sell out black folks like that. But again, sell out, right? Shucking and jiving for the white man just because we don't want to give black people a handout with reparations, right? Or bankrupt the country, which is a more accurate description of what will happen, right? And I don't think that anybody wants that because that does not make anybody better off, right? It actually hurts everybody, okay? That's what reparations does. But for me, when it comes to real tangible issues and solutions for the problems that we have, I vote for things that are realistic, okay? Reparations is not realistic. Therefore, I would never vote for it or vote based off which party I think is going to give me reparations because I'm not naive enough to believe that any party is going to give anybody reparations because of their skin color. It's just not obtainable, right? It's just not something that we can do just with basic math. We can't do it. It's not going to happen, okay? Not the reparations that people actually want. Again, some of these people want $1 million payout per black person. It's not going to happen, right? It's never going to happen. We can't afford it. We literally can't afford it. So I vote for things that, again, actually have a realistic shot of happening in regards to having a stronger border, right? Like we did under Trump, okay? That would have prevented this crisis that is happening in these liberal cities, okay? Now where black people's resources are being used to give to illegals so that they can come in to their neighborhoods and use their schools and take up their resources, take their jobs, right? Yeah, I didn't vote for that. Okay, I didn't advocate anybody vote for that. But most likely, if you're advocating for people to vote based off who you think is going to give you reparations, those people actually do agree with that, right? Those people, those politicians are probably like Brandon Johnson, who I don't even think he is really giving a concrete promise on reparations, right? For as Looney Tunes as he is. So, again, it's just funny to me how Again, the Democrats give black people the okie doke every single time. But they're still going to go out here and vote for this, even though it's clearly not in their best interest, because Republicans racist, conservatives are racist, you know, they're white supremacists, all this and that. While Democrats are actually pushing policies that if I was a white supremacist, I would push, right? I'm just saying. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.